All right, tell me you're seeing one screen. Yes, yes.
We're good.
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. Let me just get all of you guys on my other screen appropriately here. We'll dive in. Quick. All right. So as my notes said, this will be a bit more of a truncated day, but here's our plan. So we've already been kind of kicking off. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about the whole context of building out the technical strategy. And it's a functional strategy. It'll be, as I said in my note, link us back to the discussion we had in last month's session around enterprise strategy, business strategy, and then functional strategies. And we'll talk a little bit more about primary constraint thinking, specifically on the technical side. All of that will kind of tie out and lead us to each of the partner business opportunity teams talking about where you are with your pitch, okay? And so I'm going to give us a little bit of time, each team a little bit of time toward the end of the first hour to go into your team rooms and talk about and just double check in on where you are with your pitch. So you'll have a little bit of time to do that. And then at 5 o'clock, some alums will be joining us, and I'll give them a little preview update on where we are, what we're doing, so that then each team will be able to pitch their idea. And obviously, I've already said you'll be focusing on the 5 to 7 minute piece, and we'll come back and frame that up and get feedback from each team. I mean, you get feedback from not just the alums, but from other teams from our cohort, and go from there, because the context will be to take that information and, as you deem appropriate, revise, make changes, et cetera, et cetera. And then we'll talk about our plans for July. Game? Any questions whatsoever? All right. So just as a bit of a reminder, let me take this out. When we talked last time, I gave you this definition of strategy, that it's really about, a strategy is really about choices that you're making designed to achieve a certain goal. So here's our goal, and here's strategically what we're going to do, the choices we're going to make to get there. And I think I referenced that strategies for a lot of organizations, it's this interesting thing that they build strategies and then never look at them. They sit them on the table or on the shelf. But that's really not what we should be doing. We should constantly be revising and making modifications to our strategies to get to the state that we're trying to get to. So it really is about your strategy truly drives the choices that you make, the choices that you're making, and what you're executing against over and over and over again. So you modify as appropriate. So I always say that the real strategy is the intended strategy, because it may move and adjust based on what you're trying to do and what has happened in the environment that you're in. Fair? I see nods. Good. All right. So again, reminder that we talked through this idea of a system, that at the top of the house is the enterprise strategy. So what are we trying to do at the top of the organization? For a lot of organizations, that really does mean kind of high level mission, vision, values. What are we doing at the top level? But it also includes and should include things like, how are we breaking out, quote unquote, the businesses? How do we look at the various functions inside of our organization? What are those? Those are strategic decisions that are made at the top of the house. And then based on that, the businesses that we're running, we get clear about, okay, what is business segment 1 need versus business segment 2 versus business segment 3, right? So I think I gave the example last time of Coke versus Minute Maid orange juice versus vitamin water. All 3 businesses inside of the Coca-Cola company, but they actually play very differently. They approach things differently, even though in some instances, they use some of the same functions to deliver what they need. And then, of course, the third level is functional strategies. So functions being obviously things like how we do research, or how we do development, or how we might do sales, right? Those types of things, or legal is a support function that cuts across. Do you remember that construct? Was that helpful? Okay. Because what I want us to do is to spend a little more time going a little bit deeper, specifically on the technical side of the house, when we think about this, because technology in general, again, depending on your organization, is normally a functional strategy. Not in some instances, they can have a business that's actually a technical business inside the organization, but in most instances, depending on the organization, it's a functional strategy that we're driving across various businesses. And if you remember, I gave you this view of the kind of the functional capability strategy triangle, where you get clear about what's the experience that you're trying to have your, in a lot of cases, especially on the technology side, who is your internal customer? And in some instances, you may have an external customer, but often it's internal. What's the experience that you want that customer to have in the context of your technical work that you're trying to do? And so if you remember, on the left side of the house is getting clear about what the intent is. So who are your end users? What do they need? What are you promising them? What capabilities do you have or need in order to develop the process or technology that you're trying to create for them? That's all on the left side. So you're developing a capability, right? Then you're actually aligning that capability or adapting that capabilities for your internal customer. You don't sell it to them normally because they can't often go outside and buy it. You've got an internal capability that they need to get internally from you on the technology side. Very rarely do you have a business leader who says, well, you're not giving me what I need, technical team, therefore I'm going to go outside and get it. Now, every once in a while, you do have a business leader who might actually take that posture, right? If he or she feels like they're really not getting what they need. But normally, it's about the adaptation and the working together to, we weren't really clear what you needed, business leader. Now we actually understand, we're going to modify and shift, et cetera. And then, of course, we deliver it down along the bottom side. So remember that. So that's that functional capability triangle construct that we were talking about. Questions on that? I want to hear if this is kind of how you guys look at the technology side, and as you support the business. I want to understand from you, is this how you look at it? Is this helpful in terms of this diagram, et cetera? I'd love to hear from you. Don't be shy.
Yeah, this is definitely the way that we think about it, and it does kind of fall a little bit like that waterfall approach of like going through there. But as you're talking about working with the business leaders and getting that iterative feedback to make sure we are actually building the right things for our business and for our customers.
Okay. Because I think, and anybody else chime in, I think the last month when I talked about this, one of the questions I asked was, what is kind of the normal point of difficulty with business leaders in the context of understanding or working through the technology from a functional viewpoint? Where do you normally run into issues or problems? Is it on the develop side? Is it on the adapting side, or is it on delivery? Where are what I'm going to call the tension points, and I'll say that creative tension points that you run into?
I would guess on developing, that's where the different opinions come in, different pathways to solutions, and deciding on those is probably where you have some creative tension.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. And adapting to something new, getting people to adopt and welcome the change. So I would say developing and adapting as well.
Developing and adapting. Okay.
I was thinking delivery. And the reason I say that is what tends to happen is, everyone has their perspective of what they were expecting. And then when they see the actual output, it's slightly different from, what you and I thought it should be every, you had a perspective and then I have one. So I've seen it from that perspective as well.
Okay. And and Keisha, thanks for saying that, because that's the thing I want to kind of put on the table. And how do you address that? What do you do with that when it comes up? And that's Keisha or anybody, because that kind of pops up. What do you do with that?
I can add some flavor. When that happened, I think it kind of goes in a little bit like adoption. So we work on something, we deliver, and the adoption is low, and that has a side effect of what the capabilities we have delivered. Because that's what, to Keisha's point, they thought there's going to be a cycle, but we delivered a motorbike, whatever, right? So it's going to be, the expectation is different. The way we kind of made some process changes on our end is frequent feedback. Like every week we go in front of the users, even it could be as basic as a prototype or a Figma mock, and say, hey, these are the capabilities we are building, and this is how the capability is going to kind of like not just the visuals of it, but also the functionality behind the capability, and how we determine the functionality, what data points we're using in order to build that functionality. We go over to that extent of the details with the business and users, so that we can get our alignment sooner than later. And also feedback if we have to pivot or make any changes. It's early in the process to do that, so we're not too late in the game to make that decision. So more frequent user feedback, stakeholder alignment kind of helped us in the past.
Gotcha. I saw a few heads nodding. So in that respect, because I totally agree with and really want to stress, frequent feedback is critical and key. And I love the fact that somebody used the term alignment, because as we said before, it's not always that you're going to agree, but you need to be aligned. And so that's getting alignment on what we're trying to do, who we're trying to do it for, et cetera. And what's great about at least this from a process viewpoint is we get to kind of back up if we need to, right? So if somehow, and I think it was Keisha said, we're not getting the adapting side, that's because for some reason, what we actually developed isn't actually working for the adaptation side, and we have to back up. And so it's really important. I want to just stress that the point that was made about frequent feedback, talking to stakeholders routinely, and especially early on, because as we're going to see in a few minutes, it's so important to get upfront feedback, because if you go way down process and then have to back way up, that's normally where your costs have already gotten out of whack. I see Keisha nodding her head on that one, because the whole discovery side of the house and design side of the house is normally a lot cheaper than when you've moved all the way down the path and then have said, no, change of plan, we're going to go back. And so that's critical and key. And so getting folks into that frame of we've got to work, we're working it together. So I wanted to show this again. You may not remember this from last week because I was moving pretty fast. This is simply a way to take this document and actually put it kind of on a one-pager of critical things to focus on. So this functional strategy canvas, it's kind of what's our actual purpose, which is column 1 at the top. Who are our target customers? First, potentially internal and then external if appropriate. What capabilities do we actually have or need? Because this sets you up to say, here's what I've got today in terms of capabilities, and here's where I'm trying to go future for what I might need and the value streams that I'm delivering to the business. Here are in general 7. I jumped around. I went the wrong way. So I should have gone 1, 2, and then down 3 to with your customer. What are the pain points that they have? And what do they need from you? What's the intent that you have? And so once you have framed who they are and what their pain points are, then you go to, oh, based on their pain points, here's what they need from me. So here are the capabilities I need to provide for them. And then what are the interdependencies, meaning the things that are linked to other potential teams in the organization, whether it's sales, whether it's marketing, et cetera. What are the interdependencies with technology that will actually help us deliver on that value stream construct? So it's getting clear about who those folks are, both current and notice each box is current and future. And then and what performance indicators will tell us if we're tracking against it or not, all the way to the left. So what are your key performance indicators? And I like to normally say lots of organizations have, 7, 8, 10 key KPIs. I really try to focus on what are the top 3 to 4 that really are critical and key. It's not that the others may not be important, but they're normally 3 or 4 things that we need to be hawking those and watching them all the time, because they really are key indicators of if we're driving the performance that we're after. And then all the way to the right, what are your funding sources? Normally, in most cases, you would think about something as straightforward as your technical budget or an initiative budget for whatever thing you're driving. And then what's the 8 is really what's the cost structure. What I find with this type of one-pager is that it's an easy way to have people see, in general, here's what the key items are and what we're trying to accomplish on a one-pager. Now, you can have, pages behind it, which give you more context and more detail, but this is a way for somebody to see everything easily and quickly. What do you guys normally use to, from an overall viewpoint of, here's the technical strategy for the organization? Is it normally decks? Do you try to focus on one-pagers? Give me some context for what you normally see inside your respective organizations.
I see one. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Rebecca. Sorry.
It's like on a sheet, a one pager with the columns and the goals and strategy all on one sheet, like a Google sheet.
Okay. So you do try to keep it to one sheet so that folks can kind of capture it all? Awesome. Gotcha. AJ?
I was going to say a one pager, probably not as I would say not as structured as this. There's generally a framework, but not quite as structured and clear as this, where it's easy to kind of follow how you got from one step to the next. So I appreciate this. I was going to ask, you mentioned the 3 to 4 kind of metrics or OKRs that you like to focus on. Do you prefer leading or lagging for those ones that you're really zoned in on?
Great question, AJ. It's a bit of both. In some instances, again, depending on what you're trying to show, I normally would say leading indicators, but in some instances, you might want to have something that's lagging. But again, it just depends on what you're trying to show and what's the story that you're trying to tell. And that's why I kind of referenced it as you might have, 3 to 4, but you might have a few others sitting in the background just for folks that have questions and want to be able to see a little bit more detail. So when I normally have used this type of canvas, I normally have maybe a single sheet on each of these behind it as my backup if I need to go into a bit more detail. And again, it all depends on the strategy that you're trying to frame up and where you're trying to take folks. Because see, for me, and somebody referenced this last time, coming right at you, Janelle.
Okay.
It's often the business folks, depending on who they are not steeped on the technology side. And they kind of want, you know how it goes. They want the simplest, shortest version that they don't have to think a whole lot about. I'm speaking to myself here as the business guy. That's normally what they want. They normally don't want a lot of detail because they can't kind of turn into it, but you need to give them as much as they need, and sometimes just a little more so that you're actually beginning to bring them along into your world of technology. Fair? Trinell?
So I just want clarity around what is the leading versus lagging? What is that?
Okay.
Together.
AJ, give us chapter and verse.
Yeah, absolutely. So leading indicators, meaning the metric that you are following is should be a driver of success of the thing that you're actually trying to measure. So a lot of people will have like revenue as an OKR, or like business unit revenue, but that tends to be a lagging indicator because you won't know until accounting gets done and results are posted, 1 month or 3 months post. But a leading indicator might be foot traffic into a store, or deliverables delivered over a period of time, or certain things that are outputs that or changes in user behavior outcome that are leading to that increase in revenue.
Does that track for you, Trinell? Yeah, it's one of those interesting things where you want to look at both, but most folks would say you want to focus more on, in general, leading indicators, because in a lot of cases you can't do much about lagging. You can do more about where you're trying to go that's leading you. But both are actually important. And that's why it's really important to kind of walk down the path of what are we trying to accomplish? What should we be looking at? Because at Coke, we always wanted to know, okay, what were last month's consumption numbers, right? So that's a lagging indicator. I get that information at a certain point and it's lagging, but I also want to understand, well, what does this week tell us about what's leading? What indicators do we have of what's leading in terms of consumption trends coming based on campaigns or market drivers, those types of things. So you want to actually be thinking about both, but in a lot of cases, most folks kind of say leading is kind of the place to be. Okay.
So a leader would be, from a technical standpoint or call center standpoint, average time to answer, hold times, abandon rates. Those are all things that you see on a daily basis. It might be total volume of calls, but that may be a laggard because you won't get that until the end of the month. Am I on point there?
Yeah. So some of them actually they tie together, and you kind of have to split out. And again, but I want you to, part of the focus here, remember, this is a strategy document. So it's what you're after is what performance indicators are going to give us the information we need so that we can continue to say, is our strategy working? What do I need to shift? So I want to stress that, because the indicators are just that. They're indicators of if your strategy is delivering what you want, where you're trying to go. And it's so important to just continue to focus on it and be clear about what are we learning, and therefore what choices are we making to shift things based on what we're learning from our indicators.
Would you say, Everett, that maybe leading indicators would be something to tell you how are we doing, and lagging would be something to tell you how did we do?
Yes, that's probably a very simple way to say it, but I want to stress that both can be important. But in a lot of cases, you want to focus on what is it telling us that we need to actually do, or when I say do, I mean take a choice on as we go forward. What trade-offs am I making in order to drive my numbers? Okay. So to that respect, I wanted to harken back again from our last discussion, this whole idea of primary constraint. You remember I referenced that you're always looking for what's the primary constraint in a system, right? Which of the items in my system, if I focus there, will have the most impact. And if you remember from last time I talked about this one, because this is the system of, just driving high performance. And it might be that for right now, conversation 4 in this system, which is really specifying capabilities and roles for this team, seem to be the primary constraint, meaning if we focus there, we're going to have the most impact. So instead of focusing on, and I don't know why my CC1, which is purpose, is missing there. It's just not weird. But doing an analysis with this team, we agreed that getting clear on our roles and the capabilities that we have was the constraint right now, the primary constraint for this team. They may not be clear on their focus. They may not have been clear on their mindset. But the thing that the team agreed on, if we focus here on roles, it would have the most impact. So that's why it's called the primary constraint. Okay. Remember that? Okay. And so similarly, the triangle is a system. And so I said in our last conversation, you would want to know, where is our primary constraint? Is it on develop, or in this case, or sell, or deliver, et cetera? And we kind of had some discussion about that. And it could be also in support. So from a technical viewpoint, the reason that we want to understand where our constraint is, because then it means we need to go do something. We need to change something, whether it's a process. It could be that we need to approach doing something differently. We might need a new product. You might need a new approach, et cetera, which now leads us to right down the path of, remember our discussion on innovation, that innovation is anything that makes the organization better and new. It can be a process, it can be a product, it can be an approach, it can be any number of things. And I wanted to just spend a couple of minutes here, because I'm sure all of you guys have talked about innovation and agile innovation. It's the utilization of agile methods and processes to deliver results at any level of innovation. And I want to just stop to make sure we had a conversation about innovation, that it's anything that makes the organization better and new. So agile focuses on, hopefully, the construct of low cost, rapid, iterative approach. Is that how you guys think about agile as you've looked at it inside your respective organizations?
Yeah, along with like fast changing.
Fast changing.
Rapid and a lot of collaboration.
Okay. Let me ask this question. Is there ever this context that collaboration slows things down versus speeds things up?
Yeah, at times. Yeah.
Yes. Sometimes people view it that way, that, oh my gosh, I got to find 5 people aligned, versus if the 2 of us just decide, we'd go do it.
But then that goes back to what we talked about. You get further down the process and then having to come back because you did not include that group or get feedback from, the others. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's those, again, it's those trade-offs.
Mhm.
And so the great thing about agile is, one is kind of driving this method, is work products are versioned, which is a way of permitting the product, service, or solutions to evolve as, and there's the term again, somebody mentioned earlier, feedback, and new information or thinking becomes available. So you're iterating quickly, but you notice at the top, low cost, rapid innovation. So you're trying something quickly that in a low cost way that gives you enough information as to whether, that might make sense. Let's take it a little further. Okay. So this whole idea of agile is about keeping it low cost, rapid, and trying things quickly. I wanted to raise this now because in the context of what we're going to be doing and talking about with City of Refuge and the projects that you guys are, initiatives you're going to frame up for them, pitches you're going to make, this is some of the context that I think we'll also be using as we go forward and look at it. So, and remember last time I asked you this question, so if you think about then the triangle, where's the primary constraint for the technology function in your organization? And I remember a number of you referenced, some referenced develop, but most, if I remember correctly, referenced that the view was the primary constraint was in align or adapt in general. Fair? True?
Yes.
All right. Very good. So and now I just want to focus on when you find your primary constraint, then the question is, we have to go do something about it. And I just wanted to frame this up this way as we get ready to talk through. So when you then find something that you want to work on, this is a different lens than the one I had you do when you took your various how might we's and project ideas, and I had you put them on a grid. This is something very akin to that. So when you actually come up with an idea to say, all right, our primary constraint is in adapt, align, and now we want to do something to change it. So you come up with an initiative, but you have to say, where does that initiative actually sit in the scheme, in some type of scheme? I like this one because notice initiatives that are at the bottom of the this pyramid are things that are more on the operating cost side. They create or maintain solution or benefit with fewer or reduced resources. So these are things that are normally somewhat easier to do because they're in the operating cost side of the house. The next step up on the left is incremental. So something that you're going to work on delivers marginal benefit, i.e. it's often at the margin, or growth to existing services or client relationships. So now you're modifying something a little more because it's now on the incremental side of the house. On the right of that is also another area in the blue is hold the base. It extends your current client and market impact without necessarily changing the solution. So here you're innovating by going out and tapping into potentially something that your current client does from an extension viewpoint, or you're driving market impact without necessarily really changing the product. So again, they're in general easier, not always easy, but potentially easier. And finally, at the top of the house is transformation, where it's a game changer. You're truly redefining the client impact through a new technology or new approach altogether. So which of these is normally viewed as the highest cost?
I guess the transform.
Much to do, and there's also high risk that comes with it.
Bingo. Could be high risk, and often viewed potentially as higher cost. And as I think we talked about when I did the innovation piece, when most executives at the top of the house of most organizations talk about innovation, which of these are they normally there? Or when they say, hey, let's go innovate, where are they normally talking about? What do they normally mean when they say, let's go innovate? This area called innovation.
I'd imagine they're thinking big.
They're often thinking big. They're often thinking top of the house, transform, change the game, whole new market, whole new blah, right? But to Kaylee's point, they very often don't think about, wow, that's the highest risk or potentially highest cost construct. Because what we would all love is incredible transformational change with low risk and low cost.
So
And-
Everett, would this be considered like the example you gave when you were working with Coke and they came out with the soda that kind of bombed? Was that them trying to transform everything?
Well, in that instance, it's a great question. In that instance, interestingly enough, when we came out with when we decided to take out half the sugar, I'll start there. Our idea was, let's see if you guys, which one of these do you think we were trying to do?
Incremental.
We were simply trying, watch this. It was in the blue space. It was actually incremental and hold the base, because we were trying to hold people who we were losing, who were concerned now about more calories. They were there and we were trying to hold them in the franchise. Okay, by putting out something incremental, to Wayne's point, that people could still get their head around. And interestingly enough, the amazing thing was that work ultimately led us down the path of the real decision to go after a natural sweetener in the market, which was ultimately transformation on the top side. But that initially was all about holding the base. So I wanted to just show you guys this framework. I put it a little bigger, just so you could always be thinking about, if you're thinking about or working with your business teams and there's something that you're trying to do from a technical viewpoint, think about where it might sit, because the categorization is often very helpful in terms of having people look at it through a lens of its level of risk, its level of potential impact, and how then you might approach it. Because very often folks don't really understand that truly doing transformation can be very high risk and high cost. That's why I wanted to just have us look at that. All right. So one of my favorite areas to look at in this is design thinking. So if you remember when we went to City of Refuge and we started talking to those guys about who they are and what they were about. And the first thing when we got back, I said, all right, let's start to really listen to them while we were there. Who are they? What we did the discovery side, which is really about scoping, understanding who they are, what issues they have, et cetera. And then the stages are, you move to the first stage, business case, meaning you're just thinking about it. Here's how they do it. Here might be a different way to do it. So what's the business case? Let's think about it. It's all about thinking at that point before you start to then develop a prototype to address your business case. Then ultimately you would test and validate it, get some feedback, and then develop the product. And then ultimately, what's the launch plan? Now, I assume, is this kind of how you guys normally see new stuff come forward?
Typically.
Typically?
In some cases, yeah.
Yeah, but the reality is it's a way to help you respond to changes and evolve needs effectively and quickly. The key is you should be clear about your stakeholder user value criteria at each phase, and you're always checking in. It goes right back to the feedback statement that was made earlier. And you break a complex issue down into smaller sprints so that you can see it and understand, oh, are we ready to move to the next phase? Are we ready to move to the next phase? Or should we actually back up? Those things are critical and key. All right. So the reason I wanted to have you just see that is, if you look at what we've been doing with the work that you've started to frame up for City of Refuge, this is actually the process that I've been having you walk through. I just some of the names were changed to protect the innocent. Okay. So what I'd like to do now, questions on any of that? Let me just stop for a second. So we got about 15. Questions? All right. So when you think about then what I want to have us do as we prep for our practice pitches, I'm going to send you off into your team rooms in a second. I'm going to give you a couple more minutes, and then I'm going to have you go into your team rooms. Feel free to take a break. The plan will be to be back right at 5 when we have the alums join us. But I want to give you a little context before we goes right with the stuff that I sent you already. You remember the opportunity matrix, and you're all working off of either big wins or special cases, what we're working off of. I sent this to you in the note, that I want you to really think about your pitch being that your solution really resolves the challenge. So again, be very targeted. It should be unique to some degree, because uniqueness creates value. I love using the term wow, that you want the user to go, wow, I can't believe that they're giving me that level of value. I want you to get, that's the construct, okay? Not saying you're going to be way to the left on wow, but that's the construct. Should be feasible, so it should be doable. Shouldn't be something that somebody goes like, oh, there is no way in heck. And it must be valuable. And your solution should provide what's next to proof the concept. It's not that you've got to be all the way home. I'm not looking at it being this perfect thing, but it should begin to proof the concept. And as I referenced, no longer than 5 to 7 minutes. And it should be clear, compelling, and creative. All right. And I'm not saying you're there already today, but that's where we're trying to get to. The pitch template you already saw. Here's the situation. Here's why I think we should address it. This is why I think we should do it. Here's what I suggest we do now. Notice this, to test it. So you don't have to be like, oh, we can launch this and we're ready, we're home. That's not the construct. It's what do we do now to move to the next step? and here's how stakeholders will be impacted, and any concerns or uncertainties, because nothing is perfect. So there have to be, oh, there are pros and cons to doing this. Here are the things that, and I want you to be comfortable to lay out. Here's the stuff that we're a little concerned about that, man, we're excited about this, but here's a couple of concern points that we should be aware of. And here maybe are some ways to address those things. Fair? All right. So what I want to have you do is head off into your team rooms for the next 10 minutes, 10, 13 minutes. So I want to give you if anybody needs to take a break. And then we'll come back at 5 o'clock. And as I said, at 5, we will, well, yeah, let's just do that. You we'll take a break while you're in your team rooms. And when you come back at 5, we'll be joined by some alumni members, and then I'll lay out how we're going to dive into having each of you do your pitches. Oh, and by the way, I hope each of you have come up with a team name, because I can't just call you team 1, team 2. Give me something cool. Come on, give me a team name. All right. Questions before we head off?
Yeah, so is all the groups gonna be able to go today, or is it like you're going 1 to 5, 1 to 3? Like, how are you?
I'm going to try to do all 5. You know, the timing will be,
Okay.
that's why I said 5 to 7 minutes, and then feedback will be another potential 5 to 7 minutes. That's what you'll see. So
Got it.
we'll try to get through them all. We'll try. That's the goal.
Okay.
All right. Other questions? All right. Ready? Break. All right. Wynn's going to send us off to team rooms.
Everyone is so quiet. Hello, everyone.
Is it the nerves?
Right.
We're just excited. We're ready to go.
Do this. Don't look too excited, Tamika.
No, my problem was I was on mute and didn't realize it. Okay. Welcome
It
back,
was-
everyone.
Silence. Everyone's thinking the same thing, like, okay.
And let's see, let's welcome our TAG alums as Katie, I see, and Sandra Morris, Tim. Let's see, I can't necessarily see everybody. When you going to help me out? Who else am I missing here that's joined us? That's what I can't see.
I think that's it for right now.
Right now? All right. Well, Sandra, Tim, and Katie, thank you so much for taking a little bit of your Tuesday evening to join us. My name is Everett Darby. I'm the new lead instructor for the P2L program. And I want to set this up. Hopefully you've got a bit of information in the note that went out, but I want to set this up so we all know kind of how we're going to be playing here for the next hour. Let me get this up on screen. Second. Share. All right, is that showing up? Oh, we're out of our.
Yes.
Yes. Yep. All right. So what we're going to be doing, the cohort's going to practice their pitches and get some feedback. And to be clear, everybody will be providing feedback for each of the various teams. But let me give you the context. So welcome again to the TAG alums. Thank you for joining us. I want to give you a quick context for what the team has been doing and the work that you're going to see tonight. So we're working with an external partner, City of Refuge, and we sat with them. We did a site visit, learned from them about how they do what they do, the value that they provide to their various stakeholders, et cetera. And we also specifically asked what types of issues did they have that they wanted us to give some thought to and potentially work on. Specifically, we also used the context was specifically in the technology area, but it's not that we're only focused on technology, but that was kind of the linchpin piece that we wanted to focus on. So We broke into various teams. The teams crafted after their discovery work some how might we statements, how might we address whatever the issue is, et cetera. Then they began to refine those ideas in terms of a concept, one sentence description, et cetera, refine those. And then ultimately started to think about very low fidelity prototypes, okay? And so what you're gonna hear tonight from them is their kind of initial view of whatever the issue is. And so this was the process. Out of the number of issues that they came up with, they selected one for the team to address. They developed how might we statements around it. Then they brainstormed potential ways to solve it, and they placed the potential solutions on a matrix. And then they thought about how will we know we've been successful. The matrix that they used was this: big payoff, small payoff on the left side, easy to implement, tough to implement. You get the construct. And so what we requested of each of the teams was to only focus on things that were either in the small wins construct, but really more focused on big wins or special cases, meaning big payoff, easy to implement, big payoff, tough to implement, but man, if we could do it, it would be great. And contextually, small payoff, easy to implement as well. We didn't want to mess around with time wasters, right? Things that were small and tough to implement. Didn't want to mess with those. All right. And here were some guidelines. Here are the guidelines for the pitch that I want you guys to be aware of. And it's what we call a VC capital style pitch. The solution must resolve, at least in part, the challenge, because some challenges are so big, it may be that you start with a part of it versus the whole thing. The solution should be unique. It should be wow, meaning wow in this instance is the user goes, wow, I can't believe that they're doing that for me, that they're delivering me that type of value. That's the context of wow. It should be feasible. It should be hopefully valuable, and should provide some next steps to proof the concept. Because in a lot of cases, it's not about jumping all the way to this is absolutely the solution, but how do we turn the next card? How do we prove that, yeah, that makes sense, and we're gonna step into it. The presentation, I've requested for each team to be no longer than 5 to 7 minutes to frame it up. And then the presentation should be clear, compelling, and creative, okay? So that's just some context setting. And then I gave the teams this kind of overarching pitch template, but they're able to do whatever they kind of want to frame it up, but here's just a view. Here's the situation as we see it. Here's why they think we should address this issue. So some rationale behind it. What's the intent? Why should we do it now? I think we should do it now, and here's why. And here's what I suggest we do now to test it or to move it to the next step. What's the impact? So here's how stakeholders will be impacted. And stakeholders is an expansive term, so it's not just users, but others in the City of Refuge organization. And then as well, what are potential concerns or uncertainties? So here's what I'm concerned or uncertain about as I look into the future of this solution that we're bringing to the table. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, I can pull this open, 1 second. All right. And finally, my only other feedback point specifically to our TAG alums is there's a methodology that I like to use in terms of giving feedback, and we call it I like, I wish, or I wonder. So when you give your feedback after you hear the pitch, you want to say to the team, here's what I like, here's what I wish, or here's what I wonder. It's just a methodology and an easy way for people to hear it and understand what you're saying to them. So please use that framework. As I said, 5 to 7 minutes for each team. The feedback will be given right after each team. So I'm going to reference that as another 5 to 7 minutes. Inside of the feedback, feel free to clarify something if needed, okay? But remember, it's not like we're trying to say, we're trying to redo it's just, if you need clarity on something, please ask for that. The team should be capturing their feedback. If a couple of folks want to say something that's the same or similar, instead of repeating it, you can literally say, oh, ditto what Katie said, or ditto what Rebecca said, that type of thing, so that we don't repeat a lot of the same things. And what's the goal? The goal is for the partner business opportunity team, sorry, that's what that means, PBOT, is to enhance their pitch in preparation for the September pitch to the City of Refuge. So this is our first kind of reveal and feedback session for the pitches. We'll actually do this again in July with the goal to finalize the pitches in our August session to be ready for September. All right, questions at all? Even from our alums?
You know, this was a great platform for us to know what the objectives are. So thanks for putting that out for us.
No worries. Thank you so much, Sandra. All right, and just reminder to all the other teams, we are all participating for I like, I wish, I wonder for the teams. And so please make sure you're set to do that. If some of you want to use chat to do that, feel free. But we'll want to make sure that you've designated somebody on your team to make sure they capture feedback so we don't lose. You want to make sure your team is able to discuss this feedback when you're done. All right, and so I'm going to ask Wynn to be our timekeeper. And so now I need a volunteer team to go first. And I'm going to stop sharing because I'm sure each of you may be sharing. And I can see the excitement. Come on.
Did we do it, team two?
I think they said yes.
They might
Come on.
have. It's best to go first because then, you know, what if somebody's really good and then we have to follow them?
Why you want to share your screen?
Let's set that bar real low. I'll ask Lewis if he could do it. It looks like AJ's got it. I've got a gigantic screen and it would take some resolution changes to make it work.
All right, thank you.
Hey, Wayne, one thing, let me just say this before we get started. And I'm not sure if the alums have much context for who City of Refuge is. So let me just say this. City of Refuge is an organization that started, oh my gosh, over 20 years ago that focuses in on really supporting the community in terms of housing, providing for needs in a underserved portion of Atlanta. All right. So, but it's just not job, but they focus on job creation, on housing needs, on medical needs, and they have grown tremendously over the last 20 years and have actually started to build literal housing in the area. But they do a tremendous amount of work supporting the underserved in South Atlanta, in the South Atlanta area. Just wanted to give you that context about who they are. And they specifically have programs to move people into the technical arena through their training programs. And that's some of what we were actually able to discuss with them.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Everett. So as Everett mentioned, the City of Refuge is really playing a vital role to transforming the lives of individuals and families who are in crisis. One of the things that we have noticed, specifically with their cybersecurity program, there's a clear and growing challenge whereby mentors and mentees are not as engaged as they should be. And this is due to time commitments, mismatches between the mentee-mentor pairings, and also just the overall lack of support, which leads to disengagement and also, you know, burnout and fatigue. And it's not necessarily a people problem. We just think that it's a problem with the system that is being used from a mentorship program currently. Next slide. So we believe that the solution really lies in us reinventing or rethinking the mentorship experience so that it's a bit more dynamic in such that it engages with technology and not just a series of conversations. So if we can build a stronger matching system that will provide better guidance and also foster that ongoing engagement, we're expecting that we'll be able to amplify the program's impact. Because if you think about it, technology is not just a tool, it's really a bridge that deepens the connection and facilitates growth overall. Next slide. All right, so what's the intent? So we feel that now is a crucial time for us to act. And why? The reason for that is the mentorship program needs to expand and scale so that we don't continue to encounter these risks. And we also have quite a few tools at our fingertips, such as artificial intelligence and matchmaking technologies, which are very accessible and affordable. And we feel that the City of Refuge really has a committed base, like people who are really vested in helping. We just need to make sure that we're taking advantage of, their efforts and providing them a platform that will support them. Next slide.
Thanks,
Is this,
Keisha.
Somi?
Yeah, that's right. Okay, thank you. As Keisha mentioned, the problem statement, some of the ideas we have in kind of solving this through technology is building a particular interface, and we do have a prototype like that would where a mentee can come in and kind of do an intake process, a digital intake process on what is the career goals they're looking for, what kind of skill set they want to get improvements on, what are the learning preferences, industry, like any aspirations that the mentees have, like we'll have an intake process for them. And then from a mentor standpoint, they also will fill out like some kind of filling up a profile that with their expertise that they can kind of like coach and mentor. What are their skill sets and everything? They'll be able to fill that information. So we'll figure out a tool to kind of capture that information for them. From there, we'll take that and we'll kind of figure out a prototype where we'll match between where are the strengths of the mentors and the mentees, and then kind of have a matching system to match their skill set. And we can definitely leverage a lot of AI driven solutions for that, so that can automatically drive the best possible match between these two profiles. And then we can also be able to layer additional like technology where we can set it up like how are they going to do the weekly check-ins, what kind of process they want to follow, a weekly check-in, or they want to be able to set milestones and goals for what they want to achieve with their mentor. And then we can have the tool also be able to do automatic connections between how they want to set the goals for them, being able to track the goals, are they going good, feedback. There could be chat interfaces where mentors can talk to the mentees and be able to share immediate feedback. Everything is tracked. So it's going to be an interactive way for them to manage that relationship and the goal and be able to set milestones and see how they can achieve that. And we were thinking of, and the team has done a great job in actually having a prototype build, and that's a snapshot you see here. That we think will be a good one to test and try that with actually a couple of users soon. So to kind of get their feedback on how they like and what kind of improvements we can have on the feature list that we have. Yeah, next slide.
You take this one? I'll take this one. Okay. So, the impact, as somebody was just speaking to, the mentees will feel seen, supported. The algorithm will help them match with mentees with purpose based off of the goals that they're trying to achieve. It will also help the mentors to feel more empowered and supported, empowered with clarity and structure, kind of reduce the time burden while increasing their impact as mentors. So City of Refuge will reduce drop-off rates, meaning reduce the drop-off rates participation between mentees and mentors, as well as increase user satisfaction and engagement. And then they'll also have the data to continuously improve how they match mentors and mentees, as well as effectively developing a network. So because this is a platform that doesn't really go away whenever the mentorship program, just like a real mentorship doesn't, this relationship doesn't go away, this platform doesn't go away. So through as the next class comes on, we have this network of people. And so funders and partners will see kind of measurable progress and scalable infrastructure, so we can actually show the connections and the programs and be able to use this to track the mentees through the program and the relationships that they develop, and that will help us to communicate outcomes as well, which can increase fundraising appeal and sustainability. So we do have, some reasonable concerns and uncertainties that we want to tackle with our prototype. One of those being adoption rate. Well, will mentors and mentees be open to using this technology? It might fall flat. People might think it doesn't quite feel as genuine as in-person mentor relationships. That's a real risk and something that we'll need to test against. Data sensitivity. So intake forms must be secure and respectful of personal stories. We want people to feel safe in sharing their journeys, what their goals are, and we need to be real clear on how we protect and guard that data. Scalability. So will our prototype, will it scale as the program grows? What's the additional investment that might be needed to get to 1,000, 10,000 people as this program grows? So we do see these as all solvable challenges, and we believe as we test the prototype and share it, that we can learn through them and improve them and adjust. So our next steps, we think launching a pilot with a few mentor-mentee pairs using the intake form and the manual matching engine will both help us to kind of tweak our matching algorithm so that we can improve how the matching occurs, but also get feedback from users on if they find it valuable, how they like it compared to the in-person or the current program. So get real user feedback as well. We can track engagement. So we get data, number of interactions, how people feel about it, what their dropout rates are, how many messages were sent, how many goals were achieved. And then we can evaluate all this feedback and refine that engine and kind of iterate and improve in the next go. So, and then we also will have kind of this prototype as well as the real user feedback that we can present to stakeholders and kind of build the case for a better funded, more scalable version as we go. So in closing, this isn't necessarily just a technology solution. It becomes a kind of a transformation engine. With this tool, we can turn mentorship into momentum. These relationships turn into results, and then that potential turns into power. Wow, this was really well written. So the mentorship program becomes like a lifelong network of people going through this program, maintaining their relationships, and we're excited to build it together. So with that, we'll close, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Yes,
Okay.
Tim.
I was trying to get to my feedback, but I mean my mute button. Fantastic, well done. Tim, hello.
Yeah, good job. Great presentation. What I liked, I did like the focus on it and how you can use it in any concept. I mean, the mentorship, mentee mentorship is something that's powerful and can be leveraged across any spectrum. It just doesn't have to be technology. It's just something that's used collectively across business. But I would like clarification on, was this supposed to be more around their cybersecurity technology presentation? Because I was wondering how did that tie in so much to help with that part of it, if it was supposed to be helping them with their cybersecurity program.
Yeah, so it is supposed to be helping with the mentor program within the cybersecurity program. So they kind of have a mentor-mentee program that they run now within as part of their cybersecurity program, trying to match mentees and mentors as they finish the program or as they go through the program. And it's kind of a piece of that is the way that I understand it.
Correct.
Okay, thanks for the clarification on that. And so with that, I think the presentation was very, very good. And it did seem to get to the point of trying to address how you can leverage people and technologies, current technologies, and solutions on that. So I think it was pretty good.
All right, thank you. And others?
Yes. Hi. First of all, I really like how professional and polished you guys are, both on your presentation as well as also on your PowerPoint. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Quality comes first, and you guys showed it. I know you were a little concerned about going first. You set the bar really freaking high. What I kept on wondering and wishing about was hearing more about your milestones. What are your checkpoints? What are your eval points? And all of that. And what about your feedback? So I just kept on, I wrote that down, I think 4 times. So I really just am wondering more about hearing about your feedback points and about your evaluation process for this.
Great. Thank you, Katie.
And I'll give mine. Same as Katie, very polished. Yeah, definitely an advantage going first. It was crisp, it was clean. You could see the points. But I also liked really that you identified the challenge and projecting directly to how that. Well, I'll just say it clearly stated what the challenge was and the project that you were looking to address. I wish to explain what the process is today. A little bit more detail on what is the now before going into the latter part. So I think maybe I would like to hear a little bit more on how they're doing it today. And then I did put I was wondering the impact and how you were going to measure your deliverables, but you did actually do that after I wrote that down a little bit later on in the presentation. But I think just to add to that, and I think Tim was stating it before, talking about how maybe it would help the cybersecurity team. Some more specifics. Is it, maybe more job movement, maybe a little bit more on how it's going to help that cybersecurity team specifically.
Awesome.
But overall, great job, guys.
All right, other teams, to that team. We're all about supporting and helping. What do you like? What do you like? What do you wish? What do you wonder?
You definitely set the bar high. I will say that. Presentation was straightforward. I think based on what we've been discussing throughout the cohort, I can tell the methodologies, the different sessions were kind of identified and called out. It was good. I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
that was Timmy saying pressure is on.
Yes.
Okay.
Pressure is definitely on. No, team, that was super, super awesome. The thing that I would call out is a little bit around the PowerPoint. I felt like a couple of times it was just reading from the PowerPoint, which ours is not going to be any better. But some of it was pretty verbatim and so just calling out those key topics. So I'm not reading along with you and adding some visuals or something like that to help tell that story along the way. Something I would wonder about.
Yeah.
I liked the screenshot that you had of what it could potentially look like. I also wonder what it would look like. It looks really like a website anybody could go to and sign up, more than something that's like branded for the City of Refuge and is built around their program. So kind of wonder what that'll look like, as you develop it and how it could for the final presentation, really look like City of Refuge owns that program versus just a random mentor program website.
Any others? All right, I'll give you a little bit. So what I really like the frame up of the situation up front and the frame up of the approach. And it was right up in the top corner, said mentor match. So I was like, oh, that's kind of a cool, just term to put up there, mentor match. And I really liked, and I think it was, who read the last slide? Was that AJ? That last closing slide where it talked about potential into power. I mean, great. It moved me. So yeah, that's a great piece. Somebody already referenced it. I'm going to say this now. I don't want teams to scramble and think, but I want you to be aware of this. And I think this is where Kaylee went. Having a personal story, this is a wish, having a personal story up front really draws your audience into the issue and draws them into using a personal story about a mentor, a mentee, or how I've been a mentor or mentee. And that actually draws people because it's personal. Okay. So just be aware of that, something to think about. It's a little difficult here with, obviously we're doing virtual. But remember, in September, we're going to be doing these. You'll be on stage in front of the cohort and the group. Also, our wish that, and somebody references, new versus current drop-off rates. It was great that you referenced we're going to decrease drop-off rates. I just didn't know what they were already. It would be great to kind of have something out there to say what that might be. And then a couple of wonders. I wondered how matching would work and how to potentially prove it out. I wondered how we will see the measurable progress. You referenced the funders and others seeing the measurable progress. I wondered how that would work. And then the last thing was I wondered how long would it take to run the first pilot? And there was a part of me that went like, man, I wonder could they run a pilot before September? I wonder. So great job, Team 2. And Team 2, did you not come up with a cool name to throw out there for us? I guess I had y'all too busy, huh?
We'll
All right.
On the next one.
And next one. We'll put pressure on today.
I did want to say that wordsmithing on the last slide was Lewis. That's what, as I was reading it, I said, "Wow, this is moving. This is good stuff." So
awesome.
Hands
Appreciate the shout out, AJ. Thanks for that.
All right, great job, Team 2. Give me a hand. Okay, next up.
Team 3 will give it a try.
Yes, we will go next. Let us know when you're ready.
We're all ready.
You ready, Everett?
All set.
Well, thanks so much for being here today. We are here to present the post-graduation community engagement platform. We are Group Tech Connect, and we would like to start by introducing ourselves.
I'm Maura Green with Scientific Games.
Hey everyone, I'm Steve Dion from SecureWorks.
Hey, I'm Rebecca Kamen with Inspire Atlanta.
Hi everyone, I'm Trinell Pierce with OpenGov.
I'm Kaylee Kuhn with the Home Depot, and Davey Smith is also on our team, couldn't join us this afternoon.
Yes, so let's hop right into it. So City of Refuge has workforce programs that have been transforming lives within the city and the local area. They do training with cybersecurity through holistic support. They provide job placement, but there are some existing gaps at this time. It's really hard to maintain connection. It's really hard to find mentorship and keep people engaged after they finish the boot camp, actually help them find the jobs that they need to land. I personally can attest to having a similar experience post-graduation myself. I was unable to find mentorship. I didn't quite know where to begin. And that school did have opportunities. They had platforms and opportunities, but they were just very lackluster. And you would go in and it just wasn't very engaging or exciting to be a part of. So I had to find my own way and create my own path. And doing that, I used LinkedIn. I reached out to people. I went to networking groups and spoke to people. And even then, it was still really hard to find people who had the capacity to help me. But I did eventually land a mentor, thank goodness. But this is really close to all of our hearts because we all go through these types of things. So we wanted to come up with something that was more impactful and closes those gaps. So some of the gaps that you normally see, there's limited alumni engagement beyond informal invitations. Some people are introverts and just are shy and they're not used to being out and getting out and talking to people. And they may need just a little bit more help or to be put in a different situation. And that just opened up the door for multiple opportunities. So we want to support our alumni through career navigation, mentorship, of course, and continuous learning because it's a journey. You have to continue to learn to grow. We want to track the outcomes and demonstrate impact and improve programming as well, and just reinforce the community amongst the graduates through events, communication, mentorship, and resource sharing. We have plenty more here, but I'm going to pass it off to Trinell to discuss more about our network.
Yeah, thanks so much, Rebecca. Appreciate that. So what did we come up with? We have a fun little nickname we call the Refugee Alumni Network. And we are really throwing out the idea of creating a post-graduation platform. And this platform is going to address a lot of the key topics and some of the gaps that Rebecca mentioned, and filling those gaps with things that makes it more inclusive for all these graduates to know they're supported even after graduating. The part of the development of the platform is probably going to be the most, I would say, time consuming or challenging part for City of Refuge, because it is something new for them. And what we're thinking of is how to put all these different concepts, or not even tasks, but just access to things into one place. Of course, we're going to plug in AI. Who's not doing that at this point? So just to suggest things like job listing, get resume help them prep for interviews, which is always a big challenge coming out of a boot camp because it's so fresh still. And now it's like putting to practice what they have learned. And then live events and office hours. I know for a fact, as Rebecca mentioned, even in my journey in cyber and tech, having office hours with someone that was already eons beyond what I've done was just super helpful to get their brain share and mind shares in those times. So what does a day in life look like? How should I present myself? You know, I'm having trouble with saying, how do I use this transferable skill in this new field I'm operating in? So having that, and of course, live events always help. And then you have ecosystems of partners. And that was one of the challenges that City of Refuge let us know about, was that, you know, they have these partners, but some of them are really engaged and some of them aren't. So finding new partners, right? Adding different things like associations and different community events and local tech associations that may be off the beaten path for them, but it'll be a new way to kind of breathe new life into partnerships for the group. And then the non-technical side of it, of course, right now their cyber program, they're focused on a specific type of tool set for cyber, which is great. But as you know, as we all know, being in cyber, things change pretty quickly. So starting to show the City of Refuge how important it is that they understand the non-technical side of things as well, to make them more, I would say, robust in their job searches, not just now, but also in the future. And then lastly, alumni recognition, right? Really highlighted successes, showing, you know, how this is working for others, showing them that, you know, there are successes here, and have them lean into that. Everyone wants to see people winning in the same groups you're in, because it makes it more possible for you. So we want to make sure that the alumni really plug into that and really highlight and showcase all that they have done. So that's what we're proposing as I go forward plan to the City of Refuge. And I'm going to pass along to Rebecca to talk about some of the other things we have going in terms of measuring that success. Not Rebecca, sorry, Mara.
Thanks. So before we get into showing you our prototype, we have identified some of the areas that we would want to pay attention to measure our success as we launch a platform that covers many different areas, including, is it being used? Are the people taking advantage of everything that we are offering? Are they finding jobs by using this community and connecting with people, whether it's part of the network that we talked about or the mentorship program? Are they utilizing the platform to drive ongoing upskill, like Trinell just talked about? Are they going in to find jobs that are maybe a little bit outside of what they thought when they first started? Are they actually landing those jobs? What percentage of the graduating class is becoming employed? I know that was something highlighted by City of Refuge, that, you know, in recent programs that's dropped off a little bit, that rate of employment. And then lastly, we would want to look at the platform satisfaction and see if there are any areas of improvement by surveying the users. And so now I'm going to turn it back over to Trinell to take a look at our platform.
Our platform. Sharing my screen here. Give me 1 second. So this is a prototype of what we designed of what it would look like, and addresses those items I had on the left in our previous slide deck. So of course you have a dashboard they will log into, and then it'll talk about, you know, the alumni that are connected in there, jobs filled, course completion, again, the ongoing learning, active mentorships. But then you have over here to the left, the learning hub, events, community, mentorship, AI support, which again are things for, you know, resume prep and doing some of those office hours and things like that. And the community, right? That's really the biggest part here, showing them they're not alone post-graduation. So this is just a rough prototype we put together to really showcase how simple it can be, but more importantly, how powerful it can be to make sure these alumni feel supported post getting through a boot camp, where they were kind of, I would say, kind of boxed in a way with just having their nice knit group, and now they have access to all the alumni and all the people that have gone through the program previously. So with that, we will stop sharing and get you all's feedback.
Thank you.
Had a lot of likes. Yeah, I switched it a couple of times, but I'm going to go straight to the prototype. Yeah, showing that prototype at the end, spot on, visual person. So being able to actually see, the kind of what does the application kind of look like, I think was very powerful. So definitely like that. And then my second one, yeah, opening with the personal statement. Like that was my first one. It really showed that, and I think Jennifer Development say what you were speaking about before, that personalization was a great opening. And definitely I was interested to hear your personal experience. The only other thing I'm going to say is maybe something else to close it off. Don't just end with the actual prototype. Maybe a slide at the end to kind of bring everything together, because you guys did a lot of great stuff in the presentation. So, the prototype had me like, oh, wow. And I was all captured looking into it. I would probably I wish there was something to just kind of close it up and bring it all together. But yeah, fantastic job, guys.
Thank you for that.
All right, Everett, I'm going to break your format a tiny bit because I didn't like something. I loved it. I loved that you guys all introed yourself at the beginning. I really appreciated. I tried really fast on the other one to read the names, but tying it goes into your entire personal thing and everything else like that, and gave every single person a great time to speak. So I loved that. I wish a little bit more to the website. It felt like just a tease. I felt teased by it. I loved the website so much that I just wanted more website. So I'm going to echo the previous comments that Sandra made on just kind of wrapping it up with a little bow would have left me loving it a little bit more. And I wish I want more of that website. It was a total tease and it was amazing. Great job, you guys.
Thanks for that.
For me, I have to echo what Sandra and the last speaker and Katie as well. I mean, loved it. It was great. The likes I did have, real like the acronym, and so how you guys actually gave it almost like the project a code name. The RAN is something that you can actually tie into on that. Presentation wise, great transition between presenters, fluid handoff, very nice, and the demo was very nice. The wish for me as well, close it off, something to actually wrap up that demo and have me craving and wanting, says, okay, they gave me something to hang on, and now how I close up and make it more heartfelt and I guess personal when it can't come to that. Other wish a little bit less verbiage on the screen. I try to find myself reading a lot, trying to read on the presentation. Sometimes a little bit less, for me, a little bit less words and just more visual. And the presentation you guys are doing, the way you presented so well that really didn't need that much verbiage on there, in my opinion. The visuals tell a story, and you guys back it up with what you're saying, the presenters. But overall, great job, and the demo at the end, wow. I just say wow.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right. Others? I like I wish I wonder. All right. I'll drop a couple. Ditto on the team intro. Fantastic, to Katie's point. Love the personal story, Rebecca. Fantastic. It really set the tone. Like the proposed solution. Here's the thing. For me, it was a very comprehensive solution. So that's a like. I want you to get this. But I also wonder that would it be beneficial to frame one or two items in the solution and drill into those? Because for some people, it could feel, oh my gosh, there's so much. It could be overwhelming. So it might be an idea to drill into one or two as an approach. That's a wonder. And I also like the build out of the dashboard. I mean, that just, it popped. And I immediately started, it actually had me thinking all kinds of ways to address that and to go at it. So just overall fantastic job, but some things for us to think about. Oh, the last one, my other wonder was how to engage, because you made reference to the engagement of current partners and bringing in new partners.
Yes.
As soon as it was stated, I was like, is there anything specific I can do to bring to enhance current partners? Because for some reason, they may not be feeling they're getting love while bringing in new. So just something to think about. Great job.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
All right. Let's see if we can get through one more. Don't fight over it, guys. All right, who's diving out there? You got it. I tell him again, Rebecca. You got this. Come on.
You guys can do it.
Just a practice round.
It's just a practice round, and we're all learning and growing here as we go. So we're just having fun.
Narrow, you want to take a stab? I know it's only us two for today.
We can.
Okay. All right. I also did want to comment on the last team. I was trying to get off mute, you all, but I definitely want to echo everyone's comments and response. Definitely love the demo. It felt interactive, and just to kind of see the product, like I definitely loved that. So it was really great. I think that was the hesitant part of us going next.
Thank you.
All right, let me see. Let me get my screen. A second. Share. And presentation, I'm trying to put it in presentation mode. One second, I'm trying to put it in presentation mode, so.
Yep, no worries.
Okay.
See with the icon down the bottom right corner, down the right, it's like a slideshow thing.
Oh, here, okay, here, custom slideshow here, okay.
Just click that.
Uh-oh, did I do it? Did it do it? No.
The slideshow.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. All right, well, good evening. My name is Tamika Neely Dudley, and with me on the line, we have five members in our group, but today, myself and Naira will be presenting, and we are team 4. I think I like to call us bridge builders because we've been talking a lot about kind of bridging the gap and bringing on resources and other partnerships as we help the city of Refuge. Okay. Sorry, I'm a little nervous.
All good.
Okay. All right. So this was a very interesting, I guess, exercise or discovery. I'm from Atlanta, born and raised, and I had never heard of the City of Refuge, and I think a lot of my cohort partners as well, Pat. And so when we initially did the discovery of the walkthrough of the visit at the site, we were all impressed and just really kind of hopped in, solutionizing versus, us going in and just kind of listening to some of the challenges. So we had kind of like several conversations and work sessions to kind of hone in on what we want to focus on, because there were several challenges presented during our walkthrough, our visit, and even during our discussions where we had to come together and just really kind of hone in on just one thing. And so the challenge that we decided was increasing the job placement rates for graduates of the cybersecurity program for City of Refuge. And reason being is because we had conversations and discussions with Ron, who is over the cybersecurity program, and we kind of felt the passion in this piece of it, or as far as having job placements, or having more resources available and partnership available for the graduates to be able to at least go in some type of entry level in the field based on what they have been learning as a part of the cybersecurity program. Of course, we worked through our POV statement, and we came to an agreement to kind of just focus on one POV. But of course, there were several that were called out during our work sessions, and which was part of just really what the program was about and stood for. Individuals and family transitioning out of crisis, needing more shelter, and giving kind of like a second chance. Not only that, but mentorship, training. We noticed spiritual uplift was available for them, and just life skills all together. And so we really wanted to hone in on all of these programs, but decided to just focus on creating a more cybersecurity program and partnership job placements for the individuals, just giving them an opportunity in that space. How might we, of course, our statement was a part of our toolkit that we worked on as far as expanding employer engagement and making certain that we're aligning the curriculum with the industry. As you know, technology advances and changes daily. And so our How Might We board to kind of develop how can we look to increase the number of streams of acquiring companies to assist with job placement. One of the statements that Ron made was that, you know, the program has been in place for a while, and they would love to build relationships, and that's the most challenging part, is building relationships. I work for City of Atlanta and was shocked that, you know, the relationship, it wasn't stronger there, as we have different type of workforce development programs in Atlanta. So that was our kind of like number one, just expanding that employer engagement. I'm gonna punt the ball over to Nairo to see if you wanted to add in, or. Uh-oh. Can y'all hear me?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Can't hear Neural.
Oh. All right, so
Yeah.
I'll continue now. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, he was off of mute a minute ago, then he went back on.
Okay, no worries. You can just chime in now when I finish. But one of the other ones was, of course, boosting mentorship and support, making certain that, you know, the graduates or individuals that attend the program were encouraged and had life skills and coaching mentors available for not only the program, but just life skills within Excel. And I think one of the other things that we wanted to kind of focus on was amplifying awareness, increasing more visibilities, because again, myself being a City of Atlanta native, was not aware of this program that help individuals and families that's coming out of challenges, or, you know, needing a second chance and just opportunities. So building that awareness for success. High potential talent pool with lived experience that bring resilience and dedication. Of course, we want to focus on the inclusive pathways into tech and cybersecurity, which is a high demand, as indicated here. So making certain that we match the talent for opportunities for them to win, but not only that, just giving them that hands-on experience in those type of environments or settings. So our call to action, we all kind of talked through about how do we invite employers to open the doors? How do we kind of bridge that gap, is having the employers give the graduates an opportunities? How do we engage and onboard mentors to uplift their lives? And then how do we partner with different companies or different other entities to amplify City of Refuge mission? And so this here, of course, is going through your template, Everett, as far as the situation, and I won't read it verbatim, but situation, of course, what I just discussed about the graduates from the cybersecurity program, but facing kind of employment challenges, especially our uncertainties of our climate today. but how do we get the job market to be competitive and giving them an opportunity? And what we're thinking by doing this is just aligning the efforts with our industry demands and strengthening the partnership with companies and onboarding companies, engaging others to give the graduates an opportunity. Our intent, of course, is to create a long-term job placement pipeline that not only helps them, but to secure employment and evolves as the industry changes as far as tech and modernization. And of course, to increase awareness of the program. And how do we tell that story? Okay. Same here, engage IT firms. I don't want to read it verbatim, but build a board. This was a big one as well, building an advisory board to guide curriculum and placement. And one thing we honed in on this was because in speaking with Ron and one of the cohort past members was that not having a board to kind of go out and see what the new tech trends are, or to actually go out and speak on behalf of the City of Refuge to bring on those different organizations and resources, building that relationship that they needed to be able to have those types of jobs available for the graduates. Of course, launching a mentorship initiative with professionals, and then having the graduates come back and tell their success stories. And hopefully that will kind of bridge on and bring on more marketing efforts.
Gotcha.
All right. So I'll just kind of glance through here as far as, of course, the impact, increase employee community involvement, and strengthening the reputation of City of Refuge as a tech talent hub, and of course, improved confidence and career growth for graduates. And so some of the concerns were, of course, misconceptions. I know some stories were shared as we were doing the walkthrough at City of Refuge, but some stories were shared about misconception, maintaining consistency, of course, and employer participation over time, and then just ensuring that the curriculum is up to date and modernized with kind of how we're advancing in technology. And of course, uncertainties, I just spoke about the economy, hiring conditions, kind of where we are now, fluctuation in funding and resources, and then being able to scale, for mentors and job placement efforts.
Gotcha.
I will stop and I'm ready for feedback.
Good job.
Tamika,
right.
I am impressed with you. I am truly, you just improv that, and to have 4 of your team members missing, I don't know that I could have done what you just did. So I could not be more impressed with you. I know, Everett, I broke your love again. I'm sorry, but I liked how well you owned that and did a great job. Neryl, I'm sorry that had to be a difficult to not have your mute button working at the time and technical difficulties. I wonder if the color scheme in your PowerPoint is the right one. It could be that I'm getting old, totally probable, but I couldn't read some of the words on some of the backgrounds on some of the slides. So that could be me. And then I also liked that you answered basically all of the questions that Everett outlined. And then finally, you mentioned City of Atlanta. You work for them. I love that. I love that though. But could you tie it in more? I wonder if it could be tied in a little bit more. And if anything, I don't know the rules, if City of Atlanta can be tied in and work with this in any way. So I see so much you did. Hats off to you. Like, damn girl, on setting the bar, ending the bar as high as you could.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the feedback as well.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie. Others?
Yeah, I ditto that. If you had to improv that now, yeah, you guys are gonna do a great job having some more time to get it together and putting more around that. So, fantastic job there. Working through that. So definitely like that. I like the personalization. As Katie stated before, you bringing it in that, you're from Atlanta, you work for the City of Atlanta, some things that you didn't know about it. So even, showing the, the good, bad, and ugly makes it just even more personable and sincere. So definitely like that. I put a note just from the outside coming in. I wish I knew more what the HMW stood for. That could be me, but someone from the outside just coming in like a little more detail on that. And I kind of wish and wondered the same thing a little bit more on how you guys are going to bring the partnerships together. What are more the specifics on how you get some of that engagement and everything? But I just state that so that you guys can work on that in the future. But you know, I give you a 10 on, because I feel like I'm on Dancing with the Stars tonight or something with this. So I'm going to give you a 9 on being able to do that tonight solo. So congrats to you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
And I think the two have already summed up everything. I echo what they were stating about that, and then improv on that, and then you had so much information there, and to kind of just speak upon it, you know, not speak verbatim, was a good presentation on that. Don't have any wishes or wonders on that so far, just more just the likes on it.
Thank you.
All right, any others? And I know we're right up against time, so I will be quick. I really liked, the context that you laid about how you got there. So all of it's kind of, I didn't think about doing the method piece, but you did that. And it actually, I was like, that's actually helpful. As I was already stated, the link to the city of Atlanta really punched that up, because I think that's powerful. Only wish, continue to tell the story. And that's because that's what you were focused on. And focus on a solution in one of the calls to action, kind of what I referenced for the last group, because there's a lot there. And so I wrote this down: think big, start small. What can you do to actually prove out something now? Pick out one of the pieces that they can go drive. And to all the groups, just reminder, we will actually be pitching to the City of Refuge team. So just be aware of that. You're literally going to be pitching to them. So just be aware. Okay. All right. So first off, great job, teams, full on. I know we got one more team to go at another time. We'll do it in July. They'll get to go first. So just FYI, you know that you're going to go. But great job. This is the focus, to practice here where it's safe with us. This isn't about perfection, but it's about learning how to tell the story and setting yourself up to hear and get great feedback so that you can continue to modify and address. So take what you've heard tonight in terms of feedback. I want to say to Tim, Katie, and Sandra, thank you so much. We really appreciate you taking the time and the great comments that you provided. And so I know that we'll be even. These guys will take it higher even as we move into the next session and as we get ready for September. Any questions or comments before we close?
I just have one comment of being the cohort 2, so quite a while ago, a couple of years ago. It's nice to see how you guys have continued to program, and it seems to be expanding. You guys are doing much better than I feel like we did when we were in. So great job, Chief.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you so much, Tim. I appreciate that. All right, crew. Thank you so much for your time and engagement tonight, as always. Appreciate the work, and more to come. And so, I won't pull up the slide, but we'll be revising the pitches for the July session. And as I said, we'll do the final pitch to us in August, and then be ready for September. If there's anything else that pops up, feel free to drop me a note, but I look forward to seeing you guys in July.
Good luck, guys.
Thank you all. All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
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 Bye.